So this is my next video in this series on how Canadian municipal government works, and apparently Boomer wants to be in it today, and I'm like, whatever. So everyone, this is my youngest cat, Boomer, who looks like he's now going to be going because he's like, Daddy, don't put me on camera. There you go. Oh, maybe he's not going, I don't know. Anyway, so this video is on municipal restructuring and change. And I must admit that one of the reasons why it's taken so long for me to do this video is because this is not a topic that really interests me too awfully much. So I'll give you a few a look at what's ahead, and then I'll actually do a very short video on this topic. So probably today also I'll be releasing my case study on Northern Ontario. So those would be the final two substantive videos. And then on election day I will release, which is Monday, I will release my final video, which is the future of municipal government in Canada. I am hoping to also have one on election day as well about voting methods. So that's sort of what's going on. I haven't done a video in a while because it's just simply being too busy. So what to say about municipal restructuring and change? Well, first of all, let's talk about municipal restructuring. Municipal restructuring, what I mean by it is changing the way the municipality functions and operates. The most common type of this restructuring and change is amalgamation or annexation. And we've seen this. We've seen a number of different waves in Ontario, and I'm going to use Ontario as a case study because I'm most familiar with it. So the first wave we really saw in Ontario was in the 1960s, where you saw all the little towns and villages be merged into bigger towns and villages, and you saw a number of different upper tier governments really installed. You also saw in Toronto the creation of Metropolitan Toronto government, and you saw a number of different changes to the way most of Ontario operates. The one part of Ontario that never really got into the change regime was Northern Ontario, and for a number of different reasons, which will be discussed in the case study. Northern Ontario has remained with a large number of very small municipalities. So that's one thing. The second wave you really saw was in 1995, where you saw a second wave of municipal amalgamations. And these were very interesting because what happened was, instead of creating a upper tier level government and merging out the smaller ones, as was the case in the 60s, you saw the upper tier government become a single tier government. Places like Toronto, you saw this. You saw it, Greater Sudbury, Ottawa, Chatham-Kent. There was a few municipalities that this actually happened in. So you saw that happening, and at the same time, you really didn't see much going the other way. You never really saw, unlike Quebec model, you never really saw a massive move to de-amalgamate in Ontario. The other interesting dynamics of municipal restructuring and change is annexation. So, believe it or not, most of Ontario landmass does not have an incorporated municipality. It's somewhere between 75 to 80% of Ontario does not have an incorporated municipality. Most of it is in the north. So annexation is a way to add to the boundaries of the incorporated municipality. So annexation really is when a municipality takes on land in the hinterland. If you know the case of London, you know that in, I believe it was 95, London, Ontario, by the way, I believe it was 95, you saw an annexation of the Hyde Park area of London, where in the City of London took over land that was once part of what's called Hyde Park. Now, there are a number of different arrangements for this. In some cases, this can go to the Ontario Municipal Board for approval. In some cases, it can be done by provincial legislation. In some cases, it can be done by both parties asking for it. So you do have those two very interesting things. But you really don't see, once an amalgamation or an annexation takes place, you don't see any change. And the example we always used was in 1883, I believe. It was the city of New York, which was amalgamated. The 5 boroughs were amalgamated into the current city of New York. And the thought was that took in the entire New York metropolitan area of the time. But since the amalgamation of New York, you really haven't seen much change in the boundaries of New York. You may see one road here, one road there be added. And I think there's something to be said. In any major center, you really can't see that change, because most of our major centers are close to borders, but either natural, like Toronto. Toronto can't extend any farther south, or it's going to be in the lake. You can't really build houses in the lake. Or sub-national or national borders, as is the case of Ottawa. You can't extend Ottawa any jurisdictionally any out more, because you have the Quebec border that would get in the way. So you do have those boundaries. So there are limits to annexation, and there are limits to amalgamation. Whether or not we'll see the debate come up in Toronto again in the next little while is going to be interesting. I have the feeling you're going to see the Toronto amalgamation debate come up again. And what is the best way to govern such a large city, the largest in Canada? So that's my video on amalgamation and annexation, titled Municipal Restructuring and Change in Canada. The next video I'll be posting is a case study of Northern Ontario. Hope you enjoy. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to subscribe.